The funeral was over. The flowers were fading. And I was standing outside a closed door, holding a piece of paper that would change my entire life. My name is Claire Foster. I am 31 years old. I serve in the United States Army as a major. And 3 days ago, I buried the only person in my family who ever truly loved me, my grandfather, Walter Foster. What I did not know, standing there in my dress uniform with his letter in my hand, was that the people I called family were already planning how to take everything from me. And I was about to walk in and hand them the perfect opportunity to do it. If you have ever trusted people you were not supposed to trust, stay with me. Because what I heard behind that door still gives me chills. Let me take you back. My grandfather Walter was not just family. He was my anchor. When my parents divorced and both of them seemed to forget I existed, it was Walter who showed up. He was the one who taught me how to shoot a rifle safely, how to fix a leaking pipe, and how to stand tall even when the world tried to knock me down. He was the reason I joined the army. He served 2 tours himself, and he used to tell me, "Claire, a person's worth isn't in what they say. It's in what they do when no one's watching." My Aunt Denise and my cousin Trevor, on the other hand, barely visited him. They showed up on holidays, smiled for pictures, and left. But the moment his health started failing, they suddenly became very interested in helping. I did not think much of it at the time. I was stationed overseas for most of it. I only got to see him during short leaves. Every time I did, he held my hand a little tighter and said the same thing. "Claire, don't ever let anyone tell you what you're worth." I already know. I thought it was just an old man's sentimental words. I had no idea he meant it literally. Walter passed away peacefully in his sleep. It was the kind of ending he deserved, though it still broke something inside me. The funeral was small but respectful. Neighbors came. A few old army friends came. And of course, Denise and Trevor came, dressed in expensive black clothing that looked far too polished for genuine grief. After the service, the family lawyer, a calm older man named Mr. Whitmore, asked to speak with me privately. He handed me a sealed envelope with my name written in my grandfather's handwriting. Inside was a letter and a copy of a trust document. My grandfather had secretly built a private trust over the last 15 years. Real estate, stocks, a small manufacturing company he quietly invested in decades ago. The total value, $28 million. And every cent of it, none of it split, none of it shared, was left to me. I sat in that lawyer's office in complete shock. My hands were shaking, not because of the money, because of what it meant. My grandfather had seen something in me that he didn't see in anyone else in our family. He had trusted me with everything he built. I decided I wanted to tell my family myself, face to face. I thought it was the respectful thing to do. That decision almost cost me everything. That evening, we all gathered at Walter's house to sort through his belongings. I walked down the hallway toward the living room, letter still in my jacket pocket, ready to tell them the truth. Then I heard voices from the study. The door was slightly open. It was Denise and Trevor. "She doesn't even know about the trust," Denise was saying. "Whitmore hasn't told her the numbers yet, has he?" "No," Trevor answered. "But when she finds out, she'll probably want to split it fair, being all noble and military about it. We need to get to her first. Convince her the trust needs to be managed by family. Convince her she doesn't understand finance." Denise laughed quietly. "She's been in the army her whole adult life. She trusts people too easily. We tell her we'll set up a joint account to protect the money from taxes. She signs. We control it. Simple." I froze in that hallway. My heart was pounding so loud, I was sure they could hear it. These were not people planning to celebrate my grandfather's memory. These were people planning to steal his legacy right out of my hands, using my own trust as the weapon against me. I did not walk in. I did not confront them. Not yet. I stepped back quietly, went outside, sat in my car, and just breathed. My grandfather's voice echoed in my head. "A person's worth isn't in what they say. It's in what they do when no one's watching." Well, now I knew exactly what my family was capable of when they thought no one was watching. I did not sleep that night. I sat with my grandfather's letter and read it over and over. He had written, "Claire, I know some people in this family will try to convince you that you don't deserve this, or that you can't handle it alone. Don't listen. You've handled far harder things than money. Protect what I built. Protect yourself." It was almost like he knew, like he had seen this exact moment coming years before it happened. I made a decision that night. I was not going to walk into their trap. I was not going to hand them access to anything. But I also was not going to disappear quietly and let them believe they had outsmarted me. I was going to let them show their true colors completely. And then I was going to make sure they faced the consequences of what they tried to do. The next morning, I called Mr. Whitmore privately. Mr. Whitmore had handled my grandfather's affairs for over a decade, and he was fiercely loyal to Walter's wishes. When I told him what I overheard, he was not surprised. "Claire," he said, "your grandfather actually suspected something like this might happen. That's exactly why he built the trust the way he did." He then explained something I had not fully understood. The trust was structured with strict legal protections. No joint accounts. No shared control. No signature from me could transfer ownership without a mandatory 30-day waiting period, during which the lawyer himself had to personally verify my full understanding and consent. My grandfather had built in a safety net specifically to stop exactly what Denise and Trevor were planning. But I wanted more than just protection. I wanted the truth to come out, clearly, in front of the entire family, so no one could ever question what really happened. So Mr. Whitmore and I made a plan. I would let Denise and Trevor approach me with their joint account idea. I would act like I was considering it. And this time, I would have a recorder running and Mr. Whitmore present as a witness. 2 days later, exactly as I expected, Denise invited me to lunch. She was warm, syrupy sweet, asking about my time overseas, telling me how proud Walter always was of me. Then she brought it up. "Claire, sweetheart, I know all this money stuff can be overwhelming, especially with your career keeping you so busy. Trevor and I were thinking maybe we set up a joint account, just to help manage things while you're deployed. Family should look out for family." I looked at her calmly and said, "That actually makes sense. Can we meet with Mr. Whitmore tomorrow to set it up properly?" I watched her eyes light up with excitement. She had no idea what was coming. The next day, we all sat in Mr. Whitmore's office. Denise and Trevor arrived confident, ready to push their plan forward. That's when I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. Their own voices filled the room. Every word from that night in the study. "She doesn't even know about the trust. We tell her we'll set up a joint account. We control it. Simple." The color drained from both their faces. Mr. Whitmore spoke calmly but firmly. "This recording, along with your attempted coercion of a beneficiary regarding an estate under my legal supervision, could constitute fraud. I have already reported this conversation to the estate's compliance officer, as required by law." Denise tried to argue it was a private conversation, taken out of context. But there was no context that made what they said sound innocent. Word spread quickly through the rest of the family. Uncle Robert, my grandfather's brother, was furious when he learned what Denise and Trevor had tried to do. Other relatives who had once been neutral suddenly saw exactly who these two really were. Denise and Trevor were formally removed from any remaining minor provisions in Walter's will, the small keepsakes and personal items he had left them out of family courtesy. The lawyer made it clear their attempted scheme voided any goodwill inheritance clauses tied to good conduct. They lost far more than money. They lost their reputation. Extended family stopped inviting them to gatherings. Neighbors who once respected them began treating them with quiet distance. Trevor's own fiancée broke off their engagement after hearing the recording, saying she could not build a life with someone capable of something so calculated. As for me, I took the trust exactly as my grandfather intended. I used a portion of it to fund a scholarship for children of fallen and disabled service members, something Walter always dreamed of doing, but never had the resources for while he was alive. I named it the Walter Foster Legacy Fund. I framed his letter and keep it on my desk to this day. Here is what I learned from all of this. Family is not defined by blood. It is defined by loyalty, honesty, and how people treat you when they believe you are not watching. My grandfather spent his whole life quietly building something valuable, not just money, but trust, integrity, and love. And in the end, it was that same quiet integrity that protected me, even after he was gone. Betrayal often does not come with a loud announcement. It comes disguised as concern, as help, as family looking out for family. The real strength is not in reacting with anger. It is in staying calm, gathering the truth, and letting people's own actions expose who they really are. If someone in your life has ever tried to manipulate you using kindness as a mask, I want you to know this. You do not need to scream to win. Sometimes the most powerful revenge is simply refusing to be fooled and letting the truth speak for itself. Thank you for listening to my story. If it moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today.